third thing is this elevation certificate is the first step to filing a LOMA if that is the intent by the lender, the insurance company, or the property owner. Now, LOMA is another acronym dreamed up by FEMA, and those are what would apply to you folks selling residential properties. They are free for once. You get to do something for free. You can file them electronically through the federal government. And what that LOMA does, it uses this information, and if the results are good, you're high and dry, according to that 100-year elevation. They use those results, and FEMA will actually make a determination and exempt that structure out of the floodway. They aren't going to change the maps. They aren't going to change anybody's information. They're just going to look at the information provided. Again, that's the information that has to be provided by a registered professional. Ideally a surveyor, because there are certain portions of this certificate that have to be done by a surveyor, although they can be certified by a professional engineer and they can be certified by a registered professional architect. Personally, I like to stick with the professional that can do all the work, that is the most expertise. I don't go to general practitioner doctor to complain about my headache if it's something so severe I think I need surgery. I go to the neurosurgeon and talk to him. My point there. The rest of the document and our concerns there are a few things about how the LOMA actually functions. That waiver is a waiver granted by FEMA only. It's still up to the insurance company whether they're going to go for that, and it's still up to the homeowner. The homeowner may not be worried about the 100-year storm. You may be worried about the 500-year storm. You can never, I cannot guarantee anything. Nobody else can either. We've seen it happen throughout the country, and it's happened right here in this community. A few years ago, we had 6 and 8 inches of rain, which is twice the amount of a 100-year storm. You know, you may have people that want to be insured to that point. That's entirely up to them, and again, the insurance company. There's a couple other factors that may influence the reason on why you're having a flood elevation certificate done, other than the policy and the buying and selling of property. New construction would require it. Completion at construction or an as-built elevation certificate would require it. And some other instances where you may have somebody that does have that basement, like somebody mentioned a while ago. Well, it might do me better, be a bunch of cost savings if I just fill it in. That's some things, and then you can also put holes in foundation walls and that type of thing. That's more of an engineered design that FEMA and DNR calls flood proofing. That's another type of situation that the elevation certificate might be used. So you will have a before and after elevation certificate that would go back through the actuarial process to determine their rates. The certificate itself, there's a couple things I wanted to point out here as we're going through it. One of the things that's going to be key to our information is a map. And that map can be anything. We can gather the information. The more information and time we spend in it, obviously the higher our rate's going to be. But a lot of times, you folks can help the property owners come up with some of that information, and the map is one of them. Surveyor location report, plot plan, copy of an aerial photo that shows the size and shape and dimensions of the house. Sometimes you can get that information off of a property card at the assessor's office, depending on how detailed their GIS information is. There's lots of different places to get that, but having that information when they are ordering the survey helps us out, times, money, and all that. Along with the elevation certificate, they are now requiring that they be done within 90 days of when the insurance company is going to be working on the policy, so they have to be current. One term that I always hear people talk about in the past is recertifying this. Well, you did it 8 years ago. You did a survey for me 8 years ago. Can you recertify it? Well, that sounds like a good idea, and it was something that was an older practice. But with all these forms constantly changing, the rules constantly changing, it really is a new elevation certificate because I have to comply with the current standards. There may be some savings as far as time and effort is concerned, but we still have to go back out to the site. We have to measure it again because there are more things that we have to measure today than there were before. One of those things we have to measure that shows up on this form and is under the survey required section. This is the part of the form that the surveyor has to work on and is responsible for when we get down to the bottom of the form, signing our name and putting our stamp next to it. This section, every time they revise this form, keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's more and more information. We get information in here about the base flood elevation and all the detailed information that goes along with that. We have information on here about datum. I don't expect anybody to understand or even tell me right off the top of their head what the word datum means, but the simple part of it is surveying started in this country when it was born, and over the course of time we've had better equipment and better information, so datums have changed. If you fill out, if the flood maps are done at one datum, which is one set of elevations, and you go out and you grab information off of a benchmark and set on another set of elevations, you aren't matching apples to apples. It's my responsibility. It's something that we all understand. Obviously an architect and even other people in the construction industry might not catch up on that. So that's why it's important for a surveyor to understand all this. We can come off of a benchmark, we can use GPS to get the elevations to the site, which is why the distance from the home to the closest benchmark is again a time and effort and material situation for us. We also have to, when we're doing our measuring, and I can provide this information to you if you're interested, you can go online and find it. Each individual house has about 7 or 8 different, there's 7 or 8 different diagrams that describe different houses. Slab on foundations, houses on crawl spaces, basements, on stilts, enclosures. There's all kinds of different stuff that you can pick out on what that house is. Each one of those things you pick out determines how you fill out this information. We got to get elevations around the house. We got to get elevations on the floor. We got to get elevations in the basement. We got to get elevations on the garage, the outside of the garage. And this is all just on one structure. Imagine multiple structures. We have to do that on each individual structure on the entire site. In an effort to do that, and one of the things that we also have to include is mechanical equipment, whether it be an air conditioner that's sitting outside or electric meter or service coming into the facility. Those are the typical mechanical type equipment that you find on the outside of a structure, but we also have furnaces, water heaters, electrical panels, high dollar things that service and utilities of the structures. We have to locate those. Is the furnace in the basement? Is it on the first floor? It makes a difference on how we fill out that form. So again, that's our primary reason for having to coordinate with the key holder. The policy is going to be that we are going to give a morning or afternoon of a day when you call and order a survey with us. We'll make our best effort to be there during that time to meet up with the key holders so that can be as smooth as possible. I know I'm going real long here, but I have unfortunately a lot of information to cover. The work that the surveyor fills out on here is based off of the field survey data. Like I said, it has to be current. Pictures of the home have to be current. They all have to be within 90 days.